in nature. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Jan. So I'm going to share my screen now. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about Handshake A to Z, and let me share my screen.
As Sarah is sharing her screen, please, if you have any questions, place them in the chat. We'll be reading the chat questions to her later on. So Sarah, take it away.
All right, so today our agenda, we're going to talk about how to access Handshake, account management, jobs, events, employers, and career center resources in Handshake. So let's go to the next slide. So when accessing Handshake, you can access Handshake from the Career Center website by selecting the career link logo. And the reason we direct you through Career Link, our career education online resource, is so that you get the full breadth of looking for jobs, networking with employers, and everything that Handshake has to offer. There's a lot of resources attached to Handshake in Career Link. So that's why we link Handshake through Career Link, and you access Handshake with your student login credentials. If you go to log in from the CSUN Handshake homepage and you find that you don't have an account, you can register manually and join CSUN, but most students will be imported with their portal information. Once you log in, the first time you're going to be asked to fill out career interests. These career interests are what kind of employment type are you looking for, internship, job, full-time, part-time, on campus, off campus, industry, and your major, what location are you interested in moving. If you are interested, if you have family living in Oregon and you want to potentially work in Oregon, you can list Oregon as a career interest location. So it does give you, and the system's a smart system, so what you fill out as your career interests are going to push jobs and internships and employers based on your career interests. You can edit those interests, and I'll show you how to do that in account management. But now we're going to go to the home page in Handshake. Let's go into Handshake. So here we are at csun.edu/careerlink. As a student, you can select Handshake right here if you just want to go right to Handshake. Here's my portal login credential. Gotta do the duo. And we're in. And so as I was saying before, there's a lot of resources attached to to Handshake in CareerLink. And so that's why we direct you that way. And because I logged in with my CSUN login credentials, I actually don't have to log into Handshake. But just for the sake of demonstration, if you were to log into Handshake, this is what the login page would look like, and you would select this blue button and then put in your login credentials. And that's for services. Student account. So this is the Handshake homepage, and right on your homepage, you're going to see some things that are being pushed to you. We have internship week, and so a lot of the events this week are being promoted. There's employer messages. And so that's the homepage of Handshake. And let's go back to presentation. So account management. What is an account management? Your profile, your jobs that you've favorited, your interviews. If you've registered, if you've applied for an on-campus interview, then that's where you can find your interview schedule and your documents like your resume, cover letter, transcripts, writing samples, as well as your career interests, which I mentioned from the previous slide, and then settings, like if you want to change your email or make your pronouns public. Those are things that you can access from the account management tab. And this is what it looks like. You select your avatar and you have your profile and your career interests, your settings. You can also make your profile public, private, only public to employers, public to students and employers, or private. So when we go to the menu, I just want to briefly go over profile. Profile, you're going to have some academic information, like we said. Most students are imported into Handshake, so you will have some basic academic information that populates. And you can add work experience. That's not going to appear. Additional education, if you're a transfer student. If you are a master's student and you had an undergrad from another university, you can add that in Handshake. This is private. These are your interests. Oh, it's only visible to employers. This information is private. So if you choose to make your pronouns public, you can, but when an employer sees your Handshake profile, they're not going to see this personal information. You can also discover more students. And going into the Documents tab, you can add a new document. These are the options. If an employer wants you to add an application, an attachment, if they attach an application to their job listing, you can add it as an other document. And let's go to career interest. So my career interest, from your avatar / initials in the upper right hand corner, my career interest. This is where you can go and change as you move through your academic years. Your interests will change. Maybe you're interested in an internship or an on-campus job right now, part-time, but as you get closer to graduation, you might be more interested in a full-time job. And so it's important to review these when you're in a time of transition, like before a semester starts. If your major changes, you might want to go back in here and make changes. And last, I'm going to go into settings. And like I had said, this is where you can add another email. So if you want to add if you're going to be graduating and your CSUN email is no longer going to work, you can update your account by adding a personal email and then make it primary. And then if you're messaging employers or networking with other students, those emails from Handshake will be sent to your personal account. These are your privacy settings. You can change these anytime. And like if you're if you're going to be networking and you want it to be public, you can set it to public. And then when you're done, if you want to set it back to private, you can. If you want to set your work authorization, you can. And so those are some of the settings from the drop down. Going back to the presentation, we're going to go to the next slide. This is the Jobs tab. The Jobs tab can be accessed from the navigation menu at the top from anywhere in the system. And when you go to the Jobs tab, you'll see the jobs most relevant to your career interest populating. You can also filter by, I believe, date. You have filter options. These are frequently used filter options. And you have additional filter options in the All Filters button. And you can apply right from the quick display, or you can select the job title and go into the job and read more carefully. I do recommend that you read the job posting carefully, because sometimes employers have little details. For example, I had one employer who had an external link, and the link required you to copy and paste a job code that was listed in the description. And so there was a student who didn't know, like, they didn't see in the description that they had to copy and paste this job code when they went to the external application link to find the job to apply on their site. And when I called the recruiter, they said, they should be more detail oriented. It's listed in the description. And so employers sometimes are looking for somebody who can follow the instructions. It's kind of like a pre-screening. Employers will be looking for someone who's detailed, and that applying and reading the description can help with that. Now, in the job section in Handshake, there's also your saved searches. So if you're looking for, if you've created a search like full-time graphic designer, Los Angeles, and you want to go back to this job search, you can save this job search and access it from your saved sub-tab. And we can go in and review the Jobs tab. So like I was saying, you can search by relevance, application date, deadline, and date posted. So if you want to see the most frequent or the most recent jobs listed, you can filter that way. If you're looking for on campus, you can filter on campus. There's 75 jobs in here. Now, that can be misleading because my account is set up to view work study jobs. So not all students qualify for work study jobs. One of the pre-qualifiers for work study is filling out your FAFSA, financial aid. And if you've selected yes, you are interested in work study on your FAFSA. And FAFSAs are due like every March. So if you are filling out your FAFSA, you want to make sure, and you want to be eligible for more on-campus employment, you want to select yes, I am interested in work study on your FAFSA. But like I was saying, there's more advanced filtering options when you select all filters, and when you do select those filters, you can now see there's 33. So like of those, I think it was 75 jobs, 33 of them are work study jobs. And sometimes employers will post a job and they won't archive it. So sometimes if you search by date posted, that will pull up the ones that have been posted most recently and are more likely to be open. I know the library has a general pool application where they're just collecting applications all year long, so that if they need to hire, they have a pool of resumes that they can refer to. So that's a little bit about how to filter the jobs. And like I was saying, I recommend you go into the job title. So I selected the job title and it opened up the whole description. And there's quite a bit of information in here. So reading the information is helpful. If you are really interested in an employer and it's a competitive, like application process. You can message other students sometimes if they've indicated they've worked there and ask, well, how did you find, how did you get the position you're currently in? What was the application process like? What was the interview process like? And so your peers can be a great resource for you, as well as just Handshake, applying to jobs in Handshake. And here, this is an example of an employer adding an attachment. So they want you to fill this out and then attach it. I recommend when filling out PDF files, if you have Adobe Acrobat on your computer, to download the file and open the file in Adobe Acrobat Reader, fill it out, save it as a PDF, and then attach it. Sometimes when you fill out an application in your browser and save it and attach it, it sometimes attaches as like a browser file, or it will, all the contents will be blank. I've seen some issues with filling out a PDF in your browser rather than in the Adobe Acrobat Reader, which is a free software program you can download on your computer. A lot of computers already have Adobe Acrobat Reader, on campus at least. So going back to the presentation. And we will have time to answer questions at the end. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we can go over other sections in more detail at the end. So now I'm going to go over the Events tab in Handshake. Again, you can access the Events tab from anywhere in the system. This menu bar, and in the Events tab, again, you have filters. It's a system. So that's one of the things that makes it helpful to use Handshake, is the ability to filter. These filters aren't always sometimes employers will say they're looking for a graphic design student and you're a history major, but you had taken LinkedIn Learning courses in Photoshop and Illustrator, and you have a passion on the side for graphic design, or you've worked in another job and had experience in graphic design. So your major doesn't always translate to a role that you're interested in working for. And so if an employer's indicated that they're looking for a specific major, Handshake allows you to apply for that job still. And just making sure that you list your experience and your education that is relevant to the job is important. And not, the filters can be helpful, but they're not the end all. So just remember that sometimes it can be helpful to remove filters and to look for other employment opportunities or events different than what the filters you have set. So what kind of events can you find in the events section? You can find workshops like Internship Week. You can, in Resume Makeover, you can find information sessions. Those are usually hosted by employers. Like we have Mattel hosting an information session this week during Internship Week, and employers will share about the company, the application process, what kind of jobs they have open. And you can ask them questions, and it's a great way to make a contact at a company that you're interested in working for. That can be helpful to, that can be a great resource. People are resources too, not just databases. So you can find career fairs, the career fair details, like what employers are coming. If it's a virtual fair, you can find the available sessions and your schedule. You can also find on-campus interviews. You can find on-campus interviews listed as like the job postings in the job section, but you can also filter to find on-campus interviews from the event section, and also your schedule for your on-campus interviews. So let's go into the events tab and check out some of these filters. You can see if you've registered for any events. You don't have to like go through all these events. There's a lot of events in there. If you've already registered, you can easily access your schedule on the right hand side. And you have these filters. Let's say you wanted to see who had come to an event that happened in the past. You can choose this filter, past events, and you can type in, let's say, TechFest 2020, and you can see what employers came that year. So it's a great resource. The good thing about looking for employers that attended a job fair or an information session is that these employers are coming to CSUN because they want to hire CSUN students. They like what CSUN students have to offer, the transferable skills, the critical thinking skills you gain as a college student, the writing skills, the inclusivity that you learn in your undergrad and your undergrad courses. Employers, that's what makes employers interested in hiring college students, regardless of major, is all those transferable skills you're gaining as a college student. Group projects. So I want to remove past events from this filter. And we are going to go over the job fairs in the career fair prep workshop that's on Wednesday, I believe. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the career fairs. Please join us for that other session if you are interested. Just to show you, when you want to register, you're going to select register. Once you register, you can join the event. You want to look for the passcode, but you can always find the contact information here. And if a student has a public profile, you can even see what other students are coming. You can write a comment if you have a question about the event. You will want to bring your resume so that you can share it, have it ready on your computer to share it. This is going to be a virtual session. So that's how you register for an event. That's where you access the event. Like I said, this navigation menu is anywhere in the system. You'll be able to find this navigation menu, which is helpful. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So now we're going to talk about the Employers tab in Handshake. This is also a great resource for students. One of the benefits of using Handshake is that employers are interested in hiring college students. And so rather than going just to LinkedIn, they also use Handshake because it's a way for them to recruit directly college students and go to where students are. And students like using Handshake because it's connected to your academic information, and it's kind of a bridge between LinkedIn and your college experience. And some of the things in the employer section that you can review are filters. If you can filter by employers you already follow, you can do a keyword search, a filter based on location, industry. Once you find an employer you're interested in reviewing, you can go into the employer profile, and they will usually have an about section, any open jobs that they have, contact information. Sometimes they'll list a public contact. If you have a question, you can reach out directly to the company. Students who've worked there, and if you have questions, you can ask the student questions about the hiring process. Highlights from reviews, like if students have left reviews about what it's like to work there, you can read those. And big companies will even have like tips and news from the company. So let's go into the employer section and see what it's like. So when you go into the employer section, this is what it's going to look like. I can see up here employers I follow. I can also just do a filter search of all the employers I follow. If I know, like, let's say I want to see, oh, I really like TikTok. Is TikTok recruiting at CSUN? And here they are. They are an approved employer with California State University Northridge, and they are interested in hiring CSUN students. You can see some demographic information like their industry, how many employees they have, where their headquarters. One thing I do like to note for students is an employer profile is going to, and this is the same in the career fair details, employers are going to list their headquarters many times. So if they're a national employer and they have, or even an international employer and they have headquarters all across the US, or they have locations all across the US, their location is usually going to be listed as their headquarters. So TikTok is located in Culver City, but sometimes you'll see like Maryland, but they have offices in Southern California. And so the location here is just typically their headquarters and is not always indicative of where they're recruiting for. So you can, like I said, you can explore jobs. They even have a chat feature that's open for students to reach out to. You can see what their featured job is. Highlights from reviews. These are things that have been listed frequently in reviews. You can see employee perspectives. You can see pictures of the office. They have an LA office tour, an about section. Here's where you can message students. And when you go to message a student, Handshake already populates frequently asked questions for others for networking. And that's really helpful, I think, for students. And I recommend you do that if you're really interested, especially for a competitive company. Getting information will be helpful. Here's a list of all their jobs. You can select here and review them all. And as you can see, they're not all located in Los Angeles, even though their headquarters are in Los Angeles. You can also go to their socials, and this is their public staff. And many companies will have a position or department specifically for recruiting university students. So early careers lead, that's somebody who's looking, that's working directly with recently graduated students or even current students looking for internships. You can see news that they've shared about their company. It's a little dated, but it could have some information that's helpful. So that's the employer profile. And when you follow an employer, anytime they post a new job, you're going to get an email. Or if they're coming to an event, a job fair, or an information session, you'll get an email letting you know that TikTok is active in your school's Handshake. So that's, I recommend that you follow the employers you're interested in and research them as well. So let's go back to the presentation. So the next tab we're going to talk about in Handshake is the Career Center tab. On the Career Center tab, you can find information like an overview of the university. That's something that employers will also see. You'll find some resources. We have a link out to CareerLink. If you want to go back into CareerLink, there's an access point in the Career Center resources section. If you want to learn about job search safety tips, and I've highlighted that one because it is important to be aware of some scams that are surrounding job applications. Employers will sometimes ask students to deposit checks into their bank accounts, and then it's a fraudulent check, and the student will be out the money that's in that they deposited and then wired to their employer. So never deposit a check for an employer into your personal account. No employer would ever ask you to do that. So if somebody does, then unless it's your paycheck, don't do that. Don't share your social security number during the application process. The social security number is going to be given during if you're hired, then they will need to verify your work authorization, and it's usually verified with a social security number. So in that case, that would be the time that you would share it, not during the application process. If an employer wants to do a background check, that comes if you're hired. That doesn't come during the application process. There's also the resume guide that's in CareerLink. It's linked directly in the resources tab. So for easy access, this is a great resource that the Career Center has created on if you've never made a resume or you want to update your resume. It's a really helpful tool. It has action verbs. It has the chronological resume, the standard resume format that many employers use. And then there's also the Career Center. So there's several Career Centers in Handshake and on campus. For example, in the College of Business, they have the Career Education and Professional Development Center. It's the Career Center for the College of Business. And then also accounting and IS students have the EY Center for Careers, and they are also in Handshake. And they'll host job fairs in that college, and they'll also host on-campus interviews. And so because of a generous donation, they have additional resources. Then there's also a public staff listing if you want to contact, like if you are a business student and something's wrong with VMOC or uploading, they have VMOC in the College of Business, then you can find the contact for the college. And or if you have an appointment with their office and you need to contact someone, you can find their contact information there as well. And let's go in and see this Career Center resource tab. So this is the Career Center tab that I was talking about. And so here we have general information. We have the Career Centers that I mentioned. We have upcoming events from the Career Center, the public staff listing, information about the university. If you're a College of Business student, your appointments are going to be in here. And then the resources that I was mentioning. So for example, if you wanted to read about job search safety tips, you can go and read some common scams and what to do if you do feel like you've been a victim of a job scam, or if you are, if it's already happened, or if you are questioning the legitimacy of a job offer or a job posting. So that's the Career Center tab. When you select the Career Center, the CSUN Career Center, you see all of our upcoming events. We have much more than that, but these are just some highlighted ones that were listed there. And that's it's actually, I'm not sure how they preface those. I guess maybe they're the most recent ones coming up. So going back to the presentation. That's it for the presentation, but I do want to give time because in case anyone has questions. Jan is, let's see. So I see that, oh, I don't need to put that there.
Hi, Sarah. Let me help you
Hi.
with that.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions in here. Well, it says, let me start with the ones that I think are most relevant. Um, how do I make myself more marketable in Handshake?
Okay. I would say to make your profile, well, to update your profile and to, once you've updated it, to make it public, um, and add an updated resume in there, because if you want to network with employers and be marketable in Handshake, having a public profile that's updated and has your work experience, employers can message students and request and look at their resumes. Do not include your address in your resume. Your resume should have your city and state. It shouldn't have your actual address, especially if your account is public. But I would say that will help make your profile more to make you more marketable in Handshake.
Okay, thank
And
you, Sarah.
yeah. Mhm.
Next question. Can first-year international graduate students apply for summer 2023 internships during this semester? I can see that most jobs say my school year doesn't match.
So Handshake has this
Questions when she sees bubbles clicking on the screen.
So you can filter based on work authorization. So if you're looking for CPT or OPT, you can see the jobs that are available. But if you're looking at and let's say the job that you're looking for, your school year doesn't match. If you feel that you have I'm not sure about the specifics around international students applying for internships in certain school years. So I do recommend you reach out to the International Exchange Office because they will have, and they have advising hours on their website, I believe, virtual and maybe even in person. And you can ask more specific questions about when can you start your career related work experience as an international student, because I'm not sure if there is outside of Handshake. Now, going back to Handshake, if an employer has indicated a specific school year, but you feel that your work experience is could be and maybe previous education could be could make you qualified, then you could still apply. You should be able to still apply in Handshake. Handshake wants to democratize job applications. So if you, like I was saying, like you could be a graphic design, have interest in graphic design, but be a history major. You can still apply even if you don't match that job. And I encourage you to apply. I can't remember what the percentage was, but I remember reading once that most people who get hired don't meet all the qualifications of a job. Being interviewed and getting the job is a lot about how prepared you are for the interview, your confidence. You want to make the recruiter confident in their decision to hire you. And if you're feeling shy or nervous, they're gonna lose confidence in you by you not having confidence in yourself. So being confident is very important in a job interview, and being personable, and they want somebody who's that will fit in their workplace. So if you mesh well with the recruiter, then that's a big hiring point for employers. And of course, work and education experience is important as well, but sometimes education or work experience can compensate for your education. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Sarah, what do F1 students say to the following questions? Are you legally authorized to work in the US? And 2, do you now or will in the future, will you require sponsorship in the future to work in the US?
So I'm not 100% sure with the employment laws around F1 students. I do know that if it's related to your coursework, you're eligible for OPT and CPT. If they ask about sponsoring, but you're applying for CPT or OPT, I'm not sure what the legal requirement is for disclosing that. And that's where I do recommend that you go to the International Exchange office hours and get more clarity on that. Because I'm not sure and I don't want to give you the wrong answer for that second question.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Mhm.
Okay, our next question is, where can we find resume samples or resume formats?
I would say in the Career Center tab, you can go to the resource tab and you have the career link. You can go out to a career link. These are some features that have been highlighted in career link. But when we go to the career link, go back into career link and we go to log in as a student, in the job search preparation, I believe it is. Yes. You have the resume section, you have cover letters, you have interviewing, you have really good resources to help you with the application and job interview process. When you go to resumes, this is the resume guide, and this resume guide is linked out in Handshake because it is a frequently used tool in CareerLink. And it's such a good resource that I felt like it should be highlighted. But it is in CareerLink and you have additional resume samples. And these are resources that have been curated by the Career Center. And this is the resume guide that the Career Center has created for CSUN students. And it's such a great resource if you want to update your resume and like what not to include. The action verbs I was talking about, these are action statement examples. This is the chronological resume. And this is the one that employers are most frequently looking for. And it's like a template. An employer who is a recruiter that's reviewing thousands of resumes, having this structure is helpful because they know your name, they know where to find everything, I know the creative resumes are useful in some instances, but if you're just applying for a normal job, like you might want to consider the chronological resume because they don't have to look. It's not, if every resume, the education is here and then on this one it's here, and it does make it a little more difficult to review them quickly. So that I do think this one is the standard. And me, I've been out of school for 10 plus years. So my work experience would be at the top, but for students, your education is going to be at the top. You want to make sure you put like your expected graduation date, You want to make sure that the formatting is consistent. If your dates are hanging on to the other line, you want to make sure that you're fixing those hanging dates that are going to the next line, and just be detail oriented. If the font for experience is different than the font for education, you want to keep the formatting consistent. There's a structure to a resume that is helpful and shows your preparedness. So this is a great example of a chronological resume. And if you notice, they do not have the address listed, just the city, state, and the area code. And it's not necessary to put your address, and it's actually I would say a security issue if you keep your whole address on your resume and your profile is public, or you're applying to jobs with your full address, because you don't know who's reviewing the resumes on the other side. So I would keep your personal information off of there.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
The next question is it important that I live close to the company's headquarters?
No, not at all. So like I was saying, an employer could be headquartered out of, like, let's look at CVS, for example. Let's see where CVS is headquartered. And so they're headquartered in Rhode Island. Now, the recruiters who are working with CSUN are not headquartered out of Rhode Island. They're in Southern California. So they have CVSs all over the country, and even their offices are all over the country, not just their pharmacies. So you do not need to be located near the headquarters. Now, like, let's say if you are applying for a job that's not remote, let's see all jobs if there's any that are not remote. This one, so this one is remote. So not being close to where their headquarters are is fine, because the job is online. But you'll see they've noted, like, even if it's remote Austin, remote Hartford, Connecticut. So they may want you, if you're remote, to be in these areas. Sometimes employers will want you in the general area of a remote job, but not always. And it will usually be indicated in the description if they do have stipulations about where you can, in what general area you should be living in. But yeah, you do not need to be near the headquarters, especially if the job is located in Southern California. If it's in person, you do want to be located somewhat close to the job, because you have to consider your commute and your work-life balance. If you get out of work but you're spending 2 hours in the car or an hour in the car, that's something to consider, because then you go from like a 9-hour day to a 11-hour day. So yeah, that's something for you to consider.
Sarah, we have a few more questions.
Okay.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but
No. Yeah.
Will employers hire students who have no work experience at all, but have a strong GPA of 3.5 along with all the skills required for the job?
It can happen. It would vary by employer. If you are looking for work experience, getting a job on campus could be helpful. A lot of employers on campus will hire with limited to no experience for like a front desk position, or and you learn a lot of transferable skills working on campus in an office that employers would be interested in seeing on a resume. If it's an internship, or a part-time job, there's less expectation for you to have as much experience as maybe an entry-level full-time job. But even then, it would vary by employer. I do have a resume example for someone who has limited work experience, how to build their resume. I can send you, just send me an email. You can find my contact information. If you go to the CSUN Career Center, you can send it to the general CSUN email, or you can find my contact information in, well, if you go to the Fall Career Fair, my email is here. And it's also, sarah.lelong@csun.edu, and I can send that to you. Just say limited work experience resume example, and I'll send that to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question. I'm wondering if it's okay to apply to the same job again, even if I was rejected at first.
Yeah, you can apply for the same job again. From my understanding, if you are rejected from a job, you can ask, what were the reasons that you were not considered. That might be applicable if you had an actual interview. I'm not sure if you apply, if that would still apply to you, but you can always ask for feedback and go to the employer page and reach out to students or a public staff member and say, I'm interested in working here. I've applied before. I do think I'm qualified, and make connections. Show that you're interested in learning and working for that company. Building those connections can help get you into a company that you may have been rejected that you want to work for.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
There are some, this is about an internship abroad. I think if you don't mind me answering this question,
Please,
Sarah.
yeah, please.
Okay, the person says, hello, pardon the interruption. With all due respect, I'm not entirely sure if this question is relevant with respect to being answered through the Career Center, but if we decide we want to pursue an internship outside of the United States, how would we go about applying for a visa to a country like Spain, for example? Thanks in advance. Well, first of all, we would encourage you to connect with our international exchange, our student international programs office. You definitely want to connect with them because they're going to have the resources for that. We don't have a lot of details about visas and how that works, but there are some resources on the Career Center web. I think it's in CareerLink. We have,
We have
blanking
Uniworld and Going
Yes.
Global.
Uniworld and Going Global. So those two resources could be helpful for you, and you could check them out. And don't we have InnerStride as well?
That's on the College of Business's Career Center website, but I think all students have access to it. So to get to the InnerStride, you go to the Career Center tab, go to the Nazarian College, go to their website.
They have a little more detail about visas and things like that in InnerStride. So that's why I was thinking that resource. But those are some of the resources for you. So in CareerLink, we have Uniworld and Going Global. And then there's an additional resource called InnerStride that is, as Sarah's saying, on the Nazarian College of Business on their website.
Yeah, I'm not actually seeing it. So if you just go to csun.edu and keyword search, because I recently was looking for this because I spelled it wrong. I had a student ask me about mock interviews.
Uh-huh.
And you can, I'm pretty sure you can access it
Hi,
with
I'm
your
just
CISA
gonna,
and lung. Yeah,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
Thank
gonna
you,
chime
Emily.
in. Yes, hi. Interstride can be found under specialized advice and resources under international students. The program's primarily for international students. So if you go to specialized advice and resources, the teal color, yeah, under international students. Interstride, there you go.
Thank you, Emily. I was sure we had it. I just wasn't sure where it was. So great. It is a really good resource. All of those resources are great if you're thinking about studying abroad. They all give you different types of information. So I would check them all out if you're thinking about studying abroad. And let me see if there's any other questions left, but I think we've answered them all.
I just want to note one more thing about these resources. So like, let's say you're interested in working in Spain, but you're from the US. Also, if you're an international student and you're planning to move to another country after you graduate, it's still helpful, or going back to the country where you came, like you can also use these resources for like for that reason too. That makes sense. It's not just for students looking to work internationally abroad. It's even if you're going back to your home country and you want resources in your home country, they can be used in that way.
Right. Well, I would like to thank Sarah for her outstanding presentation today. She really knows Handshake very well, and I appreciate that she has shared all this great information with us. In addition, I would like to encourage you to come to other events. The next event today is at 12:30. It's internships from start to finish. And if you have more internship questions, please feel free to connect at the next session, and I'll be leading that session. And then we also have at Vanguard Investments at 2 p.m. And then the last event of the day is with Mattel. We just added that employer. So I hope you have a chance to come to the Mattel event because it's going to be very exciting. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. If you have questions, you can email me at sarah.lelong@csun.edu.
Sarah, you can close it out.
Oh, okay. Just close the full session.
Mhm.